Don't learn English like this. A fun and inspiring story about a boy named Daniel who learned English the wrong way for a long time and how he finally discovered the right way to speak confidently and fluently. This story will make you laugh, learn, and feel inspired to start speaking English today. Chapter 1. Daniel memorizes everything. Daniel was a normal boy, but he had a special dream. Daniel wanted to speak English really well, like Americans or British people. He wanted to talk to people, watch movies, listen to music, and not be afraid when someone asked him a question in English. Daniel wanted English to be part of his life, but he did not know where to start. One day, Daniel went to a bookstore and bought a huge English book. The book was very heavy and thick. When he held it, he thought that if he learned all the words in the book, he would speak English perfectly. Daniel opened the book and saw many pages full of words. There were nouns, verbs, adjectives, colors, animals, and objects. Daniel wrote lists of words on his notebook and divided them into groups. One group for animals, one group for food, one group for colors, and one group for things at home. Every day, Daniel learned one group of words. He looked at each word and repeated it many times. For example, when he learned the word apple, he said apple, apple, apple many times. When he learned chair, he said chair, chair, chair. He also wrote the words in big letters and colored them to remember better. Daniel thought that if he learned enough words, he would become a good English speaker. Daniel studied very hard. He made a study schedule. Every morning, he spent 1 hour learning vocabulary, then he learned verbs and simple sentences. Every night, he reviewed the words he learned during the day to remember them longer. Daniel thought this was the best way to learn English. But there was a big problem. When Daniel met a real English speaker, he did not know what to say. One day, Daniel was walking on the street and saw an American tourist. The tourist asked Daniel, "Hi, can you help me find the subway station?" Daniel looked at him. His heart beat fast, and his mind went blank. He remembered all the words he had learned, but he did not know which word to use. After a moment of silence, Daniel only said, "table." The tourist looked at Daniel with surprise and walked away, not understanding him. Daniel felt sad. He asked himself why he had learned so many words but could not answer a simple question. He realized that the words he learned only lived in books and in his mind. Daniel had learned English like math or history, but he had never learned to use it in real life. After that day, Daniel went home and sat at his desk. He looked at his book and thought for a long time. He asked himself, "Am I learning the wrong way? I have learned many words, but I do not know how to use them." Daniel began to understand that memorizing words alone was not enough. He needed to listen and speak English. He needed to practice English like a real English speaker. That night, Daniel decided to try something new. Instead of only learning words from the book, he turned on an English cartoon on his computer. He listened to the characters and tried to repeat what they said. When a character said, "Hello, how are you?" Daniel repeated, "Hello, how are you?" He felt very happy because for the first time he could say a full English sentence. Daniel realized that listening and speaking at the same time helped him remember words and sentences much better than just memorizing vocabulary lists. In the next week, Daniel practiced every day. He listened to short conversations in cartoons, repeated the sentences, and tried to copy the voices and pronunciation. He also tried speaking to himself in front of a mirror. He said simple sentences like, "I like apples," "I am happy," "I want to play." Gradually, Daniel noticed that the words he had learned in books could now be used in sentences. Daniel started to understand something very important. English was not a subject to study. English needed to be used, heard, and spoken every day. The words he learned became alive when he spoke them in sentences. Daniel realized he would learn better if he practiced speaking and listening every day instead of just memorizing vocabulary lists. Finally, Daniel felt excited. He knew that learning English was still a long journey, but he had found the right path. He was no longer afraid when he met someone who spoke English. He felt more confident and happy when learning English each day. Daniel learned that learning English is an adventure, not a test. And this adventure had only just begun. Chapter 2. Daniel tries to learn too fast. Daniel was very excited after he discovered that listening and speaking helped him learn English better. He felt like he had opened a secret door to a new world. But Daniel also had a small problem. When he got excited, he wanted to do everything very fast. This time was no different. Daniel wanted to learn English in 1 week. Yes, 1 week. He believed that if he tried hard enough, he could become a fluent English speaker in only 7 days. On Monday morning, Daniel jumped out of bed and said to himself, "Today is the day I become great at English." He went to his desk and made a huge study plan. His plan was very long. He wrote that he would wake up early, listen to English for 2 hours, speak for 1 hour, read for 1 hour, and write for another hour. Then he would watch English movies, listen to English songs, and repeat everything again before going to sleep. Daniel looked at his plan and felt very proud. He said, "If I follow this plan, I will speak English like a superhero in 1 week." But his mother saw the plan and raised her eyebrows. She asked, "Daniel, are you sure you can do all of this in 1 day?" Daniel smiled with confidence and said, "Of course, Mom. This is easy. I am strong. I can learn very fast." His mother nodded, but she did not look convinced. Daniel started his plan right away. He opened his computer and played an English learning video. The teacher in the video spoke clearly and slowly. Daniel listened very carefully. After 15 minutes, Daniel paused the video and tried to repeat every sentence. He spoke loudly, moved his hands, and copied the teacher's voice. But after 20 minutes, Daniel started to feel tired. His brain felt heavy. He rubbed his eyes and stretched his arms. He wanted to continue, but he already felt sleepy. He looked at the clock and realized that it had only been 35 minutes. Daniel sighed and said, "Why is learning so hard?" But Daniel did not want to give up. He stood up and walked around the room. He drank some water and told himself, "I can do this. I am Daniel. I am strong." So he continued. He listened for another 20 minutes and repeated more sentences. After the first hour, Daniel felt like his brain was running a marathon. He felt tired, but he still had many things on his plan. He said, "I must keep going. I promised myself." So Daniel started reading an English story. It was a simple story about a dog and a boy, but Daniel read it like he was reading a university book. He tried to understand every word. After 20 minutes, he felt confused. He asked himself, "Why is this story so hard? I thought it was for kids." He continued reading, but instead of enjoying the story, he kept asking questions. What does this word mean? Why does the boy say this? Why does the dog do that? Daniel felt more and more tired. Soon Daniel could not focus anymore. His eyes were open, but his brain was not listening. Then Daniel made a very slow move. He slowly placed the book down, slowly lay on his bed, and slowly closed his eyes. Within 1 minute, Daniel was asleep. He woke up 2 hours later and jumped out of bed saying, "No, no, no! I wasted time! I must continue!" Daniel returned to his desk and practiced speaking. He looked in the mirror again and tried to say many English sentences. But this time, his sentences did not sound good. His voice was weak, and his pronunciation was messy. He said things like, "I want to happy," or "I very like English." Daniel frowned. He asked himself, "Why am I speaking worse than before?" Daniel felt panic. He did not understand why he was getting worse instead of better. He shouted softly, "What is happening to me?" That evening, Daniel watched an English movie. At first, he was excited because he liked the characters in the story. But soon he became very frustrated. The characters spoke very fast, too fast for his tired brain. Daniel tried to listen, but all he heard was something like blah, 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 blah. He paused the movie and asked himself, "How do people understand this?" His mother heard him and walked into the room. She asked, "Daniel, why do you look stressed? You look like you lost a battle." Daniel covered his face with his hands and said, "Mom, I do not understand. I listen and speak and read and everything. But today I feel slower and worse. Why is English so hard?" His mother sat beside him and smiled. She said, "Daniel, you are trying to learn too fast. You are pushing your brain too much. Learning a language is not a race. It is a journey. You must enjoy it little by little. If you try to push too hard, you will become tired, stressed, and confused. That is why you feel worse today." Daniel listened quietly. Her words felt true. She continued, "When you were a baby, you did not learn your first language in 1 week. You heard people talk every day. You listened slowly. You practiced slowly. And one day, you started speaking. English is the same. You need time, practice, and joy." Daniel looked down and said softly, "So I made a mistake?" His mother nodded gently. "Yes, but it is a normal mistake. Many people try to learn too fast, but the best way is to practice a little every day and enjoy the process." Daniel felt lighter. He smiled again and said, "So I do not need to be perfect in 1 week?" Her mother laughed and replied, "No, Daniel, you only need to get better step by step." Daniel felt warm inside. He understood now. Learning English was not about speed. It was about small progress. It was about enjoying each day. It was about speaking even if he made mistakes. That night, Daniel threw away his giant study plan. Instead, he wrote a new one. It was very simple. It said, "Listen a little, speak a little, have fun a lot." Daniel looked at the new plan and felt happy. This time, he knew he could follow it. He knew he would learn better. He knew the journey would be fun. And Daniel slept that night with a smile on his face because he finally understood something important. The slow road is sometimes the best road. Chapter 3. Daniel meets a funny teacher. Daniel felt much better after changing his study plan. He no longer tried to learn everything in 1 week. He listened a little each day, spoke a little each day, and tried to enjoy the process. But Daniel still felt like something was missing. He wanted someone to guide him, someone who could make learning English fun and not stressful. One Saturday morning, Daniel's mother told him, "Daniel, I heard about a new English class in town. The teacher is very different. People say he is funny and very good at helping students speak. Maybe you can try it." Daniel felt curious. A funny teacher? That sounded nice. He asked, "What is his name?" His mother said, "His name is Mr. Oliver. People say students never get bored in his class. Daniel smiled. He thought this might be exactly what he needed. So the next day, Daniel went to the new English class. He walked into the room and saw something very strange. Instead of desks in straight rows, the chairs were in a circle. There were colorful posters on the walls with big pictures and simple sentences. The room felt warm and friendly, not scary like a normal classroom. Daniel sat down and waited. Suddenly, the door opened and a tall man entered the room. He wore bright red sneakers and a big smile. He walked with energy, almost like he was dancing. The man clapped his hands and said loudly, "Hello, everyone. I am Mr. Oliver, and today we will speak a lot of English, and maybe laugh a lot too." The students looked at each other. Some smiled, some felt shy. Daniel felt excited. This teacher was not normal. Mr. Oliver looked around the room and said, "Before we start, I want to tell you something important. English is not a scary monster. English is a friend. If you are afraid of English, English will become afraid of you. But if you smile at English, English will smile back." The students laughed. Daniel felt relaxed. Then, Mr. Oliver did something even stranger. He said, "Today, we will not start with books. We will start with our bodies. Stand up, everybody." Daniel stood up with the others. Mr. Oliver said, "When babies learn a language, they move. When you learn a language, you should move too. So we will practice English with actions. Ready?" The students nodded slowly. Mr. Oliver shouted, "Touch your head." Everyone touched their head. Then he shouted, "Touch your nose." They touched their noses. Then he said, "Touch your helicopter." The students froze. Helicopter. Did he really say helicopter? Mr. Oliver laughed loudly and said, "I am joking. There is no helicopter on your body, but now you will always remember the word helicopter." The entire class laughed. Daniel laughed so hard he could not stop. He felt happy and comfortable, like he was playing a game instead of studying. Then Mr. Oliver said, "Now we will practice English in pairs. But I want you to walk around the room like penguins. When I say stop, you will speak to the student closest to you." The students looked confused, but they tried. Everyone started walking like penguins. They wobbled left and right. Some students laughed so hard they almost fell. Daniel felt his cheeks hurt from smiling. Suddenly, Mr. Oliver shouted, "Stop!" Everyone stopped. Daniel looked at a boy next to him. Mr. Oliver said, "Now talk to each other. Ask name and give name. Use the sentences we learned." Daniel looked at the boy and said, "Hello, what is your name?" The boy smiled and answered, "My name is Andrew. Nice to meet you." Daniel replied, "Nice to meet you too." Daniel felt proud. He had just had a full English conversation. A simple one, but still a conversation. It felt natural. It felt easy. It felt real. After class, Daniel went to Mr. Oliver and said, "Sir, this was very fun. I learned a lot, but it didn't feel hard." Mr. Oliver smiled warmly and said, "That is how learning should feel. The more fun you have, the more your brain remembers. If your brain is happy, English becomes easy. The secret is simple. Enjoy the process and practice a little every day." Daniel nodded. He felt inspired. He finally found a way to learn English that did not make him tired or stressed. He liked this teacher a lot. He liked this class, and he liked English even more now. As Daniel walked home, he thought about something important. Learning English does not need to be scary or painful. It can be fun, silly, exciting, and full of laughter. And that thought made Daniel smile the whole way home. Daniel knew something now. He was not on this journey alone. He had help. He had a teacher who made English feel like an adventure, and Daniel couldn't wait to go back to class again. Chapter 4. Daniel discovers the power of listening. Daniel woke up the next morning feeling excited about everything he had learned from Mr. Oliver. He kept thinking about the silly penguin walk and the giant voices and the laughter that filled the classroom. For the first time, English did not feel like something he had to fight. It felt like something he could enjoy, something he could grow with, something that could become part of his life every day. But there was one thing Mr. Oliver said that stayed deep in Daniel's mind. It was a very simple sentence. He said, "If you want to speak well, you must listen well. Listening is the key to speaking." Daniel remembered hearing this in the past, but he never understood what it really meant. Before meeting Mr. Oliver, Daniel listened to English only because the book told him to. He did not enjoy it. He did not feel connected to it. He only listened to finish the homework. But now, Mr. Oliver's words made Daniel curious. So that morning, Daniel decided to test the power of listening. He went to the kitchen and said to his mother, "Mom, can I listen to English during breakfast?" His mother looked surprised but happy. She said, "Of course you can." Daniel took out his phone and played a simple English story for kids. The voice in the story was slow and warm. The sentences were short and clear. Daniel listened while eating his breakfast. At first, he just heard the sounds. Then he started noticing the rhythm of the sentences, the rise and fall, the pauses, the feeling behind the words. It felt different from studying. It felt natural, like music. After breakfast, Daniel realized something interesting. Without trying very hard, he remembered 2 sentences. He said them softly to himself. "The sun is bright today. I want to go outside." Daniel smiled. He did not memorize these sentences. He heard them, liked them, and remembered them naturally. That made him feel proud. Later that day, Daniel went to school. During lunch break, he sat under a tree and played another English story. It was about a boy who wanted to build a robot. Daniel listened carefully. He imagined the scenes in his mind. He watched the story like a movie in his head. He did not write any notes. He did not pause the audio. He did not try too hard. He just listened like he was listening to someone tell a story. And again, something amazing happened. He remembered a full sentence. He whispered it with a smile. "My robot can help me clean my room." Daniel laughed. If he had read the sentence in a book, he would have tried to study it. He would have thought about grammar and vocabulary. But by listening, he learned it naturally and easily. That afternoon, Daniel had another English class with Mr. Oliver. When he entered the classroom, he felt excited. The chairs were again in a circle, and everyone looked happy to be there. Mr. Oliver walked into the room with the same big smile and said, "Hello, my amazing students. Did you practice English today?" Everyone nodded. Daniel raised his hand and said, "Sir, I listened to English during breakfast and lunch, and I learned sentences without even trying. Listening made my brain relax." Mr. Oliver clapped his hands loudly and said, "Yes, Daniel, excellent. Listening is your best friend. If you listen to English every day, your brain will start to think in English. It will understand the sounds and the rhythm, and speaking will become much easier." He continued, "Babies listen for many months before they speak. They do not study grammar. They do not memorize vocabulary lists. They listen first. Listening builds the foundation. Daniel nodded. This made so much sense now. Then Mr. Oliver said, "Today we will have a special activity. It is called Listen and Move." The students looked interested. Mr. Oliver played a short audio clip. A voice said things like, "Walk slowly, jump 2 times, turn around, wave your hand." The students had to follow the instructions. It was very funny. When the voice said, "Walk slowly," some students walked too fast and almost bumped into each other. When the voice said, "Wave your hand," one boy waved both hands wildly like a bird. Everyone laughed. Daniel listened carefully and tried to follow every instruction. He felt like the English words were entering his ears and helping his body understand the meaning. It felt like magic. The words were not just sounds anymore. They were actions and pictures. After the game, Mr. Oliver said, "See, listening helps you understand without translating. You hear the words, and your brain knows what to do. That is the magic of listening." Daniel felt proud of himself. Listening did not feel like studying. It felt like fun. It felt like discovery. He wanted to do it more. When the class ended, Mr. Oliver gave everyone a small homework paper. It said, "Listen to English for 15 minutes every day." It can be a story, a song, or a cartoon. Do not pause. Do not write anything. Just listen and enjoy. Daniel felt happy because he knew he could do that. That evening, Daniel sat in his room and played an English cartoon. He watched the characters move and speak. He repeated some sentences quietly. He laughed at the silly parts. He felt more connected to English than ever before. When the cartoon ended, Daniel said to himself, "Listening feels like feeding my brain. If I listen every day, my English will grow strong." Daniel finally understood the power of listening. It was the key he had been missing for a long time. And now that he had it, he felt ready to learn more and speak more. His journey was becoming easier and more exciting each day. As he turned off the lights and got ready to bed, Daniel whispered in the dark, "I will listen every day. I will keep going. English is becoming my friend." And with that happy thought, Daniel fell asleep with a smile.
Chapter 5. The Day Daniel Finally Speaks with Confidence. Daniel woke up early the next morning. The birds outside were singing softly, and the sun was just starting to shine through his window. He opened his eyes and felt something new inside his chest. It was a warm and brave feeling. It was confidence. He had never felt this way about English before. He sat up and said quietly to himself, "I listened yesterday. I will listen again today. My English is growing." He smiled because he believed it. Daniel brushed his teeth, got dressed, and went to the kitchen. His mother was making breakfast. The smell of warm toast filled the room. His mother said with a bright smile, "Good morning, Daniel. Are you ready for school?" Daniel nodded. He took out his phone and asked, "Mom, can I listen to English again while we eat?" His mother laughed softly and said, "Of course. I love seeing you enjoy learning." Daniel played another simple English story. It was about a girl who wanted to learn to swim. The voice was gentle, and the story moved slowly. Daniel listened while he ate his toast. He felt the words flow into his ears like little streams of light. He repeated one sentence softly. "I can learn if I try." The words felt good. They felt true. Daniel kept repeating them. When he arrived at school, something surprising happened. His friend Leo ran up to him and said, "Daniel, I saw you listening to English yesterday during lunch. What are you doing?" Daniel smiled shyly and said, "I am practicing. Listening helps me speak better." Leo raised his eyebrows and said, "Really? Does it work?" Daniel said proudly, "Yes, I already remember many sentences." Leo looked impressed. He said, "Maybe I should try that too." Daniel felt happy. For the first time, someone wanted to learn English because of him. When it was time for English class, Daniel walked in with excitement. The chairs were in a circle, again, just like always. Mr. Oliver stood at the front with his big, friendly smile. He said, "Hello, my wonderful learners. Today is a very special day. Today, you will speak more than ever before." Some students looked nervous. Some looked excited. Daniel felt a little of both. Mr. Oliver clapped his hands and said, "Today, we will have something called the Speaking Garden. In this garden, every student will plant a sentence. Your sentence will be like a small seed. When you speak, the seed will grow." The students smiled. They liked the sound of that. Mr. Oliver continued, "You will choose one sentence from the stories you listened to this week. Then you will say it out loud to the class." Daniel felt a flutter in his stomach. He knew exactly what sentence he wanted to say. The class began. One by one, students stood up and shared a sentence. Some were shy, some whispered, some spoke loudly and proudly. Then it was Daniel's turn. Mr. Oliver said kindly, "Daniel, the garden is ready for your seed." Daniel stood up slowly. His hands were shaking a little, but he took a deep breath. He remembered the sentence from the morning story. He said clearly, "I can learn if I try." The room was silent for a moment. Then Mr. Oliver said, "Wonderful, Daniel. Very clear and confident. That is a strong seed." The class clapped. Daniel sat down with a warm feeling in his heart. He had spoken in English, not by force, not from fear, but with confidence. Mr. Oliver said, "Class, do you know why Daniel spoke so well today? It is because he listens every day. Listening fills the mind with English. When your mind is full, speaking becomes natural." Daniel felt proud again. He was starting to understand something important. English was not a monster. It was not a big wall. It was a friend he had to spend time with. Later in the lesson, Mr. Oliver gave the class a new activity. He said, "We will play the echo game. When I say something, you say it back like an echo, but you must add your feeling." The students giggled. They liked games with feelings. Mr. Oliver said, "I am happy today." The class echoed, "I am happy today." Some said it loudly, some said it quietly. One boy said it like a robot, and everyone laughed. Then Mr. Oliver said, "I can speak English." The class said together, "I can speak English." Daniel felt something spark inside him. He said the sentence again quietly, "I can speak English." It felt real. At the end of class, Mr. Oliver asked everyone to sit quietly for a moment. He said, "Today you learned something important. Speaking is not magic. It is the result of listening. If you listen every day, your English will grow like a strong tree." Daniel nodded. His English tree had finally started to grow. After school, Daniel and Leo walked home together. Leo asked Daniel, "Do you really think listening can help me speak too?" Daniel smiled and said, "Yes, it helps your brain hear real English. Then it becomes easier to say the words." Leo thought about this and said, "Can I listen with you during lunch tomorrow?" Daniel answered quickly, "Yes, I will show you the story I listened to today." Leo smiled. Daniel felt proud. He was helping a friend. That evening, Daniel sat at his desk. He played another English cartoon. It was funny and full of silly characters. He listened without pausing. He repeated some lines softly. He even laughed out loud when one character slipped on soap. When the cartoon ended, Daniel stood up and said confidently, "I can speak English. I am learning every day." He felt strong. He felt brave. He felt happy. Before going to bed, Daniel whispered his favorite sentence one last time. "I can learn if I try." He believed it with all his heart. And as he fell asleep, Daniel dreamed of many new English words flying gently around him like bright little fireflies. He felt ready for the next day, ready for the next step, ready for the next chapter of his English journey. Chapter 6. Daniel Learns to Think in English. The next morning, Daniel woke up with a bright feeling in his chest. It was the same warm feeling he felt during the speaking garden. He stretched his arms, rubbed his eyes, and said softly, "Today I will learn something new." He did not know what it would be, but he knew something special always happened in Mr. Oliver's class. Daniel walked to the kitchen and saw his mother preparing eggs. She smiled and said, "Good morning, Daniel. Ready to listen again?" Daniel nodded and took out his phone. He played a children's English story about a little bird learning to fly. The voice was gentle and friendly. Daniel listened carefully as he sat at the breakfast table. The story said, "The little bird jumps, the little bird flaps its wings." Daniel followed the rhythm. He whispered, "The little bird jumps, the little bird flaps its wings." His mother smiled proudly at him. After breakfast, Daniel walked to school with Leo. Leo said, "Daniel, I listened to an English story last night. I did not understand everything, but I liked the sound." Daniel smiled and said, "That is good. You do not need to understand every word. Just enjoy the sound." Leo said, "Yes, that is what you told me, and it made me feel relaxed." Daniel felt happy. Learning English felt lighter now. Before, it felt heavy like a big stone. Now it felt like a balloon floating in the sky. When they entered the classroom, the chairs were not in a circle this time. Instead, they were in small groups of 4. On the board, Mr. Oliver had written, "Think in English." The students looked at the words with confusion. Mr. Oliver walked in with his happy smile and said, "Today we will learn something very powerful, something that will change the way you use English forever." The student sat up straight. He continued, "Many learners translate every word in their minds. They read English and think in their own language. That is slow. That is heavy. But today I will teach you how to think in English." Daniel felt curious. He wanted to learn this skill. Mr. Oliver said, "Thinking in English does not mean perfect English. It means simple English in your head. When you see something, you say the simple English words inside your mind. He pointed to a window. He said, "Look at the sky." In your mind, you say, "The sky is blue." He pointed at a pencil. He said, "Look at the pencil." In your mind, you say, "I have a pencil." He pointed at his shoes. He said, "Look at the shoes." In your mind, you say, "I wear shoes." The students nodded. It seemed simple, but they never did it before. Mr. Oliver said, "Thinking in English is like a quiet voice inside your head. It talks to you all day. It practices with you. It helps you grow." Then he said, "Today we will train that quiet voice. We will give it power." He asked the students to close their eyes. Daniel closed his eyes. He felt calm. Mr. Oliver said softly, "Listen to my voice. I will say simple things. You will imagine them and repeat them in your mind." He said, "You open the door." Daniel imagined a door. In his mind, he said, "I open the door." He said, "You sit on a chair." Daniel imagined sitting. He said in his mind, "I sit on a chair." He said, "You drink water." Daniel imagined holding a glass. He said in his mind, "I drink water." Mr. Oliver smiled and said, "Good. This is how babies learn. Babies hear words and imagine actions, and slowly they begin to think in the language." After the exercise, Mr. Oliver said, "Now, open your eyes." The students opened their eyes. Daniel felt peaceful. He felt like something inside his brain had unlocked. Mr. Oliver continued, "Now comes the exciting part. You will walk around the class quietly, look at anything you want. Say simple English sentences in your mind. Do not speak. Just think." Daniel loved this idea. Everyone stood up. The classroom became a soft sea of movement. No one spoke. They walked slowly and looked at things. Daniel looked at a book and thought, "I read a book." He looked at the door and thought, "I go outside." He looked at Leo and thought, "My friend smiles." He looked at the clock and thought, "The clock moves." The sentences came easily. They were simple. They were peaceful. They felt natural. For the first time, Daniel thought in English without trying hard. After a few minutes, Mr. Oliver clapped his hands and said, "Wonderful! Thinking in English is a daily habit. It is not something you learn in one day. It grows with time. But today you have started." Daniel felt proud. His English was growing like a healthy tree. Then Mr. Oliver said, "Now we will do one more activity. This one will make your English brain even stronger." The students looked excited. He said, "It is called Follow the Picture. I will show you a picture. You will look at it and say what you think in simple English inside your mind." He held up a picture of a small girl feeding a cat. The students stared at it. Daniel thought, "The girl feeds the cat." Mr. Oliver held up another picture, a boy flying a red kite. Daniel thought, "The boy flies a kite." Then a picture of a family eating dinner. Daniel thought, "They eat together." Mr. Oliver smiled. He said, "You see, thinking in English is not hard. It is small, it is gentle, it is simple. And if you do it every day, you will speak faster and feel more confident." Daniel felt excitement bubbling inside him. He wanted to practice this all the time. After class, Leo said, "Daniel, this thinking idea is great. It made English feel easy." Daniel nodded and said, "Yes, it feels like English is inside our heads now." Leo laughed and said, "Maybe one day we will dream in English." Daniel smiled. "Maybe we will." That evening, Daniel sat in his room. He looked around and practiced thinking in English. He looked at his bed and thought, "I sleep here." He looked at his toy robot and thought, "The robot stands." He looked at his school bag and thought, "My books are inside." He looked at the moon outside his window and thought, "The moon is bright." His quiet English voice inside his mind felt stronger. It felt clearer. It felt like a friend. Before going to sleep, Daniel whispered, "English is growing inside me. Every day, a little more."
Chapter 7. Daniel finds courage to speak in real life. The next day, Daniel woke up with a tiny butterfly feeling in his stomach. It was not fear. It was excitement, mixed with a little nervous energy. He felt different now. After learning to listen better and think in English, he felt stronger on the inside. But there was still one big thing he wanted to do. He wanted to speak English in real life. Not just in class with Mr. Oliver, not just repeating sentences at home. He wanted to speak with a real person in the real world without fear. So that morning, Daniel whispered to himself, "Today, I will try. Even if I am scared, I will try." Daniel got dressed, packed his school bag, and went downstairs. His mother made him toast and asked, "Daniel, do you want to listen to English again?" Daniel nodded and played a funny English cartoon about a dancing potato. The potato sang silly songs like, "I jump, I spin, I roll on the floor." Daniel laughed so hard he almost dropped his toast. His mother laughed with him and said, "English is fun when you enjoy it." When breakfast was done, Daniel walked to school with Leo. The sky was bright and the air felt fresh. Leo said, "Daniel, yesterday I tried thinking in English when I looked at the clouds. I said in my mind, 'The cloud is big. The cloud is soft. The cloud moves.'" Daniel smiled and said, "That is amazing, Leo. Thinking in English feels like a superpower." Leo said, "Yes, but I am still scared to speak with real people." Daniel nodded. He understood. He felt the same fear. But today, he wanted to be brave. When they entered the classroom, they saw something new written on the board in big letters. "Speak with courage." The students looked at the words. Some felt excited. Some felt scared. Most felt both. Mr. Oliver entered the room with his cheerful smile. He said, "Good morning, my brave students. Today is a special day. Today we will learn about courage. Courage means doing something even when you are scared." The room became quiet. Mr. Oliver continued, "Speaking English is scary for many learners. You feel shy. You feel afraid that people will laugh. You feel afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are not bad. Mistakes are teachers." The students nodded softly. Then, Mr. Oliver walked to the center of the room. He said, "Today you will practice speaking with real courage. Not perfect English, courageous English." Daniel felt the butterfly feeling again. He sat up straighter. Mr. Oliver said, "We will do an activity called Brave Voices. You will stand up. You will say one simple English sentence in front of your group. It can be about anything. Your breakfast, your shoes, your favorite food, anything. Just speak." Some students gasped quietly. Speaking in front of others felt scary. But Mr. Oliver placed his heart on his heart and said, "Remember, this room is safe. No one laughs here. Everyone supports each other." Daniel took a deep breath. The class split into groups of 4. Daniel's group had Leo, Sarah, and Ethan. They all looked nervous. Daniel said softly, "We can do it. Simple words, slow voice, big courage." Leo nodded. Sarah smiled shyly. Ethan straightened his glasses. Mr. Oliver clapped his hands and said, "Group 1, begin." Daniel's group stood in a small circle. They looked at one another. No one spoke first. Then Daniel remembered Mr. Oliver's words. Courage is doing something even when you are scared. Daniel raised his hand a little and said,
I will start." The others looked at him with wide eyes. Daniel took a deep breath and clearly said, "I like orange juice in the morning." His voice shook a little, but he said it. He did it. Sarah clapped softly. Leo smiled. Ethan nodded. Daniel felt something warm inside his chest. He did not speak perfectly, but he spoke bravely. Next was Sarah. She said, "I have a small dog at home." Then Ethan said, "I play games after school." Then Leo whispered, "I like chocolate cake." The group smiled together. Their sentences were simple but powerful. They found courage. After everyone shared, Mr. Oliver called the class together and said, "You see, speaking does not have to be perfect. It has to be brave. Every brave sentence you speak becomes a step forward." Daniel felt lighter. He felt taller inside. He felt proud. Then Mr. Oliver said, "Now we will do the second part of Brave Voices. You will walk around the room and speak one simple sentence to anyone you meet. This is real-world practice. It builds real confidence." The students looked nervous again. Mr. Oliver smiled and said, "Simple words, big courage. That is the magic." The students stood up and moved slowly around the classroom. Daniel walked toward a boy from another group. His heart beat fast. But he remembered the speaking garden. He remembered thinking in English. He remembered the dancing potato cartoon. He smiled and said, "Hello, I like your backpack." The boy smiled back and said, "Thank you. I like your shoes." Daniel felt a wave of happiness. He had spoken to a real person in a real moment. And it was easy. It was gentle. It was human. Daniel kept walking and spoke to 3 more classmates. He said things like, "I like drawing," and "I feel happy today." Each sentence made him feel braver. When the activity ended, the room was full of smiles, full of tiny victories, full of brave hearts. Mr. Oliver looked proud and said, "Speaking English is like riding a bike. You wobble at first, you fall sometimes, but you keep trying. And one day, you ride with confidence and joy. English is the same. Courage will help you move forward." Daniel felt those words sink into his heart. After school, Daniel and Leo walked home slowly. Leo said, "Daniel, I spoke to 4 people. My voice was shaking, but I did it." Daniel smiled and said, "You were brave. That is what matters." Leo said, "Do you think we can speak with real people outside school too?" Daniel looked at the street. He saw a shopkeeper sweeping the front of a store. He said softly, "Maybe one day, but today was a good start." When Daniel arrived home, he felt proud of himself. He spoke English with courage. He used simple sentences. He did not run away from fear. He stepped toward it. That night, as he prepared for bed, Daniel whispered to himself, "I spoke today, and tomorrow I will speak again." He closed his eyes and dreamed of smiling faces, floating words, and brave little sentences walking proudly in his mind. He knew his journey had just begun, and he was ready for the next chapter.
Chapter 8. Daniel's English Adventure at the Supermarket. The next Saturday morning, Daniel woke up with the sun shining gently through his window. He stretched his arms and said softly, "Today feels like a good day, a day for something new." He did not know what adventure waited for him, but he felt brave after speaking in class the day before. Courage was growing inside him like a small tree reaching toward the sky. When Daniel went downstairs, his mother said, "Daniel, can you come to the supermarket with me today? I need to buy food for the week." Daniel nodded happily. He liked going to the supermarket. There were bright lights, colorful fruits, and funny signs everywhere. But today felt special.
Today, he wanted to try speaking English in real life if the chance came. As they walked to the supermarket, Daniel whispered to himself, simple words, slow voice, big courage. These were the magic words from Mr. Oliver. When they arrived, Daniel grabbed a small basket and followed his mother. The supermarket was busy. People walked up and down the aisles, music played softly from the speakers. Everything felt bright and alive. Daniel looked around and thought in English the way he had practiced. He said in his mind, I see apples. The bread smells nice. The basket is light. The air is cool. Thinking in English made the world feel more colorful. His mother said, Daniel, can you help me find strawberries? Daniel nodded and walked to the fruit section. There, he saw something that made his heart beat fast. A friendly store worker was arranging boxes of fruit. The worker looked kind. He wore a green uniform and a name tag that said Tom. He gulped. This was a real person, a real moment, a real chance to speak English outside school. His hands felt a little warm and his stomach fluttered. But Daniel remembered Mr. Oliver's voice saying, courage means doing something even when you are scared. Daniel took a small step forward. He said quietly, excuse me, do you have strawberries? His voice was soft, but he said the sentence, and that was enough. The store worker turned around and smiled. He said, yes, I do. They are right here on the top shelf. Fresh and sweet today. Daniel felt a warm wave rush through him. The worker understood him. The conversation worked. Daniel felt taller on the inside. He said, thank you very much. The worker smiled again and said, you are welcome. Daniel picked up a box of bright red strawberries and carried them proudly to his mother. He felt like he had climbed a small mountain. His mother said, thank you, Daniel. These look perfect. She did not know he had just spoken English to a stranger. Daniel smiled and kept his little victory in his heart. As they walked through more aisles, Daniel kept thinking in English. He looked at a shelf of cereal and thought, the cereal box is yellow. He looked at a freezer and thought, the ice cream looks cold. He looked at a basket of tomatoes and thought, the tomatoes are round. Suddenly, Daniel's mother said, Daniel, can you go and find the pasta for me? It should be in aisle 6. Daniel nodded and walked by himself. He felt confident. He felt like this was his world and he was learning to speak its language. When he reached aisle 6, he saw 2 tourists looking confused. They were holding a map of the supermarket and whispering. One of them asked, where is the pasta? I cannot find it. Daniel felt his heart jump. This was another chance, a real speaking moment waiting for him. He took a small breath and said, the pasta is over there. He pointed to the right shelf and smiled. The tourists smiled brightly and said, thank you so much. Daniel said, you are welcome. He walked away with a huge smile stretching across his face. His courage was growing stronger and stronger. When Daniel returned to his mother, he said, here is the pasta. His mother said, good boy, you are very helpful today. Daniel felt warm inside. He wanted to tell her everything, but part of him wanted to keep the story for later, like a treasure he could share at the right moment. After they finished shopping, Daniel and his mother walked to the checkout. The cashier said, good morning. Did you find everything you needed? Daniel felt brave again. He answered with a smile, yes, thank you. Everything is good. The cashier nodded happily. When Daniel and his mother walked out of the supermarket, the sun felt brighter. Daniel felt like the world had welcomed him in a new way. On the way home, Daniel finally told his mother everything. He said, Mom, I spoke English today.
I asked the worker about strawberries, and I helped 2 tourists find pasta. His mother stopped walking. She looked at him with wide, surprised eyes. Then she hugged him tightly and said, "Daniel, I am so proud of you. You used your courage. You used your heart. That is wonderful." Daniel felt his eyes shine with joy. He whispered, "It felt good. I was scared, but I did it anyway." His mother said, "That is courage, and courage will take you far." When they reached home, Daniel ran to his room and wrote something in his small notebook. It was a sentence from his heart. "Today, I spoke English in real life." He drew a little star next to the sentence. Daniel placed the notebook on his desk and lay on his bed. He stared at the ceiling and smiled. He said softly to himself, "I can speak, I can learn, I can grow. English is becoming part of my world." As Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, he knew something important. He knew that every small, brave moment mattered. Every simple sentence mattered. Every tiny step forward mattered. His journey was becoming more exciting with every new day.
Chapter 9. Daniel makes his first English friend. The next Monday morning, Daniel woke up feeling happy. He remembered his adventure at the supermarket. Speaking English to the worker and the tourists made him feel proud. He felt like his English was slowly becoming part of his life. He brushed his teeth and got dressed quickly. He wanted to arrive early at school. He wanted to keep practicing. He wanted more brave moments. At school, Daniel met Leo outside the classroom. Leo looked excited and said, "Daniel, guess what I did yesterday?" Daniel smiled. "What did you do?" Leo said, "I spoke to my neighbor in English. I asked him the time. He answered." Daniel laughed. "That was amazing, Leo." The classroom was buzzing with students. Today, the chairs were arranged in small circles again. Mr. Oliver walked in with his usual big smile. "Good morning, my wonderful students. Today is a very special day," he said. "Today, you will try something new. Today, you will make your first English friend." The students looked curious. Mr. Oliver continued, "Making a friend in English is like planting a small tree. You water it with words. You help it grow with kindness. Today, you will practice using English to talk, to ask questions, and to share ideas." Daniel felt a flutter of excitement. A friend in English sounded amazing. He wanted to try. Mr. Oliver said, "Good. Now start your conversation." Daniel thought for a moment. He asked gently, "What is your favorite food?" Tom said, "I like spaghetti." Daniel replied, "Me too. I like spaghetti a lot." They both laughed softly. Daniel asked another question. "Do you like cats?" Tom said, "Yes, I have a small cat at home. His name is Snowy." Daniel's eyes widened. "I have a cat too. His name is Fluffy." Tom smiled. "That was fun." Daniel asked his last question. "What is your favorite game?" Tom said, "I like soccer." Daniel said, "Me too. I play soccer every weekend." The bell rang softly in the classroom. Daniel felt a little sad that the conversation ended, but he was very proud. He had spoken in English and made a new friend. Mr. Oliver clapped his hands. "Excellent work, students. Today you planted your friendship tree. Keep watering it with words and kindness." Daniel felt proud. He had planted a friendship tree with Tom. After class, Daniel and Tom walked together to the playground. They shared more simple English sentences. They talked about cartoons, games, and their pets. Daniel felt happy.
English was not just words in a book. It was real. It was alive. It helped him connect with another person. During lunch, Daniel told Leo about Tom. Leo said, "Wow, Daniel, you made your first English friend. That is amazing." Daniel nodded and smiled. "Yes, and we can play soccer together after school." Leo laughed. That sounded like a perfect plan. In the afternoon, Daniel and Tom played soccer outside. They shouted simple English words to each other. Pass, run, goal. Daniel felt his English grow with every word. He felt like it was part of his life, not just something he studied. After soccer, they sat on the grass. Daniel said softly, "I am happy we are friends." Tom smiled. "Me too. English is fun with a friend." Daniel thought about Mr. Oliver's words. Friendship was like planting a tree. With words, courage, and kindness, it could grow strong. That evening, Daniel went home and told his mother about Tom. He said, "Mom, I made a friend today. His name is Tom. We talked in English and played soccer." His mother smiled. "That is wonderful, Daniel. English is helping you make real friends." Daniel felt proud. He knew that learning English was not just about listening and speaking. It was about connecting with people, sharing ideas, and having fun. Before going to bed, Daniel opened his notebook. He wrote a new sentence. "Today I made my first English friend." He drew a little tree next to the sentence, a symbol of their growing friendship. As Daniel lay in bed, he whispered softly to himself, "English is more than words. It is friendship. It is courage. It is joy." He closed his eyes and dreamed of smiling faces, laughter, and words flying gently like little butterflies. Daniel knew that tomorrow would bring more adventure, more listening, more speaking, more courage, and maybe more new friends. And he couldn't wait.
Chapter 10. Daniel discovers the fun of English songs. The next morning, Daniel woke up feeling excited. He remembered making his first English friend yesterday. He had spoken English with Tom and even played soccer using English words. His courage was growing every day. He sat on his bed and thought, "Today, I want to try something new, something fun, something that will help me speak even more." Daniel jumped out of bed, brushed his teeth quickly, and ran downstairs. His mother was in the kitchen making breakfast. "Good morning, Daniel," she said with a smile. "Ready for school?" Daniel nodded eagerly. Then he had an idea. "Mom, can I listen to an English song while I eat breakfast?" His mother laughed softly. "Of course, Daniel. That sounds like fun." Daniel took out his phone and searched for a simple English song for children. He found a song about a little frog who loved to jump. The melody was cheerful, and the words were easy to understand. As he ate his toast, Daniel listened to the song carefully. He tapped his fingers along with the rhythm. Then he started singing quietly. "Jump, jump, little frog. Hop, hop on the log." His mother smiled. "That sounds wonderful, Daniel." Daniel felt something magical. Singing in English was different from just listening. The words came out of his mouth naturally. He could feel the rhythm. He could feel the music. And he remembered more words without trying. After breakfast, Daniel walked to school with Leo. Leo looked curious and asked, "Daniel, what are you singing today?" Daniel smiled. "A little frog song. It helps me speak English. It is fun and easy to remember." Leo nodded. "I want to try too." When they entered the classroom, Mr. Oliver was waiting with a big grin. "Good morning, students," he said. Today we will use music to learn English. Singing is a wonderful way to remember words. It makes English easy and fun. The students looked excited. Some clapped softly, some bounced in their seats. Mr. Oliver continued, "Music is like a friend. It teaches you without making you feel tired. It helps your brain remember the sounds, the words, and the meaning." He played a short English song about animals. The song said, "The cat jumps, the dog runs, the bird flies." The students listened carefully and repeated each line softly. Daniel loved it. He sang along quietly at first, then louder. Then he started moving his body with the rhythm. He jumped when the song said jump. He waved his arms when the song said fly. The classroom was filled with laughter and energy. Learning English had never been so much fun. After the song, Mr. Oliver said, "Now we will create our own English song. Think of something you like. It can be a game, a pet, or a food. Then make simple sentences about it. We will put them into a little song." Daniel thought for a moment. Then he smiled. "I know. I will make a song about my robot and my cat." He whispered quietly to Leo, "I have an idea. My robot jumps. My cat runs." Leo whispered back, "That is great. Let's sing it together." They sang softly at first, then louder. "My robot jumps. My cat runs. My robot jumps. My cat runs." They laughed as they added funny moves with their arms. Other students also made songs about their pets, toys, or favorite foods. The classroom became full of music, laughter, and English words. Mr. Oliver clapped his hands. "Wonderful work, everyone. Music helps your brain learn. It helps your mouth speak. It makes English a happy part of your life." Daniel felt proud. He understood that English could be playful, fun, and alive. It was not just for studying. It was for singing, laughing, and sharing with friends. After school, Daniel walked home with Leo. He said, "Singing English is amazing. I remember words better. I can say them naturally." Leo nodded. "I feel the same, and it is so fun." When Daniel got home, he ran to his room. He played the frog song again. He sang loudly, jumped and waved his arms. Then he created a new verse about his robot and his cat. "My robot jumps. My cat runs. They play together in the sun." He laughed at how silly it sounded, but he also knew it helped him speak English without fear. That evening, Daniel went to bed with a big smile. He whispered to himself, "English is fun. English is music. English is for friends, for songs, for courage." He opened his notebook and wrote a new sentence. "Today I sang an English song." He drew a little music note next to it. It was another treasure, another step on his journey. As Daniel closed his eyes, he dreamed of songs filled with words, dancing letters, and friendly voices. He felt happy, proud, and excited for tomorrow. He knew that each day he listened, spoke, thought, or sang in English, he was growing stronger. Each day, English became more a part of his life, and he couldn't wait for the next adventure.